If you're trying to jump straight ahead and see these hacks, then jump to the timestamp here on the screen, or you can click in the description below so that you can just get what you came for and be on about your way. But if you are here to chit chat with me with my life update, you know what I'm saying, talk about some very important things for the soul and the spirit, then grab a cup of tea and hang out with me. Hey y'all, what's up? It's me, Miss Ruby. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome here for the first time. In this video, I want to show you guys a couple of hacks that may help you to achieve knotless box braids a little bit easier than the standard way if you're not that good at attaching the hair and just feeding the hair in by the standard way, okay? The reason why I stumbled upon this information is because, as you can see, I'm wearing knotless box braids right now, and I was just kind of having some trouble doing them. It's kind of irritating doing this style on your own hair. I can do this style on other people very well, but I always struggle when I do it on my own. So I ran across a couple of techniques and I was like, let me give them a try. So in this video, you're gonna see a couple of attempts of me trying a couple different techniques. So without further ado, let's jump right in, and I will be giving you guys like the little update kind of woven in between. So the situation with my hair, I already had this style in, these knotless box braids. I did them the other day, and it hasn't even been that long, okay? But I have a wedding that I'm gonna be performing at in a couple days, and I just wanted to freshen up a couple of the braids. So I was like, let me go in and make the parts a little bit smaller. I couldn't make them much smaller because I just didn't have enough hair or time. But I just decided this would be a good opportunity to also show you guys some different tips and tricks for how you can install your knotless box braids yourself. Okay, so as you can see, I reparted my sections, made them a little smaller, and I have rubber bands in all of these sections just to keep them separate from one another. But the first method I'm going to show you is the rubber band method, if you've never seen this before. And if you have, then this is my take on it. I want to first shout out the two girls who inspired these quote-unquote hacks. J. Marie is one of them, and the other one is Hair by Juju. So one of the girls showed in her video how to do the rubber band method for creating what looks like a knotless install. So that's the first one that I'm going to do right here. And I just want to start out by saying that it's okay to put rubber bands in your hair as long as your hair is like healthy, not broken. I try to make sure to super moisturize my hair. And even though it looks like I'm putting the rubber band tight, you do want it to be kind of tight, but it doesn't have to be like super crazy tight, okay? So keep that in mind. Now this is reused hair, as you can see, and I'm just going to take two pieces and I'm going to install them. So in her video, she actually pulled each strand through with the crochet hook like so, or like similar to this, basically like separating it instead of just pulling all of the hair through in one fell swoop. And I think the purpose for that is so that you don't create like this really big gap and open space. That's what I think. I did a lot of trial and error with this method, honestly, y'all, and it is like not easy at first until you wrap your mind around it. Like, it's simple, but it's kind of complicated mentally, you know? So what she did was she like grabbed each strand and was kind of like twisting it like one over the other and just kind of like installing it in this braid pattern. And I think the purpose was to like properly cover up the rubber band. I'm not really sure what the purpose was, but I found messing with it, trying to do it her way, trying to do it a lot of different ways, the easiest way to do it was just grab all the hair and start braiding, honestly. So you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, I just kind of like grabbed it all together and just created 3 sections with my fingers how I normally would. And I wasn't too displeased with the outcome. I mean, it still wasn't like as nice as typical knotless braids look in my opinion, but it actually looks pretty good. Like if I was just trying to find a hack to get around having to do it the natural way. So as you can see right here, now I'm adding in more hair. So I originally started out with those 2 pieces, then I just added the other 2 pieces in, and it was simple as that. Like honestly, this was super simple, super easy, but like I said, the way that it looks at the base just doesn't look quite as good as like the typical knotless braids that I would do in my hair. So moving on, this is the second method that I am trying out, which is the rubber band free method, where you just braid the hair and then just crochet the hair. And what I found with this method, it definitely works better when you use a small amount of hair starting out and then just work to feed the hair in. So as you can see, I started out and I started the 3-strand braid, and then I'm going to go in and gradually add in small pieces of hair bit by bit. So I am feeding the hair in just like the knotless method, but because I started out with a braid at the base, it made it much easier to keep hold and grip tight onto the hair. And I think that's one of the biggest issues when doing knotless braids, is like trying to hold onto your hair and the hair that you're feeding in without like everything slipping through your fingers. So I did like this method a little bit better. The only downside to this is, depending on the type of hair you have, that braid, like you may need to like manually unbraid that braid in order for it to not look like a braid in the braid, if that makes sense. And as you can see right here, I'm now sharing hair. Sometimes you have to like borrow a little bit of hair from one strand, pull it into the other. It's something that you feel for more than you see. And you definitely, if you focus on feeling your braid, then you definitely can feel it when one piece is just significantly larger than the other pieces, causes it to look a little off balance and just like not that defined. So yeah, that's what this braid looked like at the root. And like I said, I like this method like quite a bit better than the rubber band method, but still not as good as the standard knotless braid method, which is what I'm going to end up going with, as you guys will see closer to the end, because that's just what I prefer. But let me jump ahead and show you guys really quick a smaller section. So like these little small pieces that are right near the hairline are the pieces that I struggle with most using rubber bands, and I struggle with most just doing the standard knotless braid technique. So actually this braided method is actually like my favorite go-to. So even if you're going to do your standard knotless braids around the rest of your head and you just need some solution for like these small sections of your hair where you don't want to put too much tension on them and all that stuff, this method might work really good for you. Just remember to just feed in a small amount of hair at a time. Get started with the braid first and get a really tight grip on that like first beginning part of the braid, and then gradually feed in small sections of hair. So I'm going to continue with this. I really loved how this braid came out, but the biggest downside for me was that I second guessed myself, and I ended up taking it out and trying another method, and then I got so irritated with trying different methods out over and over and over that I didn't feel like going back to this method. So I ended up keeping the other one, and it didn't look as good. You're going to see that in a little while. So don't shame me. I learned my lesson looking back at this video, but I just wanted to show you guys how good it looked for your own record. Okay, so as I'm taking my hair down, I figured this would be a great opportunity to catch you guys up on what's going on in my life. Baby number 2, the highs, the lows, and the lessons involved. Okay, so it's gonna seem a little weird because you're gonna be watching me take my hair down, but on the other side of me right here, you can continue watching me do the install. So for those of you guys who don't know, I recently had my second baby. I am now a mother of 2, and the last time I did a video like this was when I had just gotten pregnant with her, and the time I did a video like this before was after I had my first baby. And so each time these videos are kind of like updates and reflections on the things that I have been going through and why I've been so challenged to make consistent videos. Because prior to having kids, I was making a lot more YouTube videos, and that's a big deal to me just because I like to be consistent. I like to provide value wherever I can, and I feel like here on YouTube, I've been able to grow so much and help so many other people grow by using this platform. So it's really like, sucks for me when I have to like not create. But one thing I would tell you is that when God speaks to you and you don't listen, it's a lot worse than if you would have just listened to begin with. And so I feel that, you know, throughout this journey, especially after having my second baby, there are a couple key things that God has been telling me. Number one, taking a break is crucial, okay? It's non-negotiable, okay? As it was so funny because as soon as I had my second baby, like a month and a half after having her, I was like 6 weeks, okay, that's how much time most women spend, you know, off of work. So after 6 weeks, I'm ready to get back to work. Not knowing that my body was still going through so many things, still to this day it is, that it needs to heal from, and that I was not going to be ready. So I started trying to get back into taking like my vocal lessons with my vocal coach, and I ended up having to cancel because it was just too much stress. And then physically, I was just way too drained, struggling with breastfeeding. I'm actually dropping a couple videos soon about that. Like every month, I try to get up, do something else, film some new videos. You guys, I've filmed so many videos in these last 7-8 months, you know, that I have not put out. It's crazy. Instagram videos, YouTube videos. Like you know, a year ago when I made a video like this, I talked about starting my new health journey. I had begun to go plant-based, and have been just learning so much about health and wellness by way of nutrition. And I just want to tell everybody in the world that, like, you don't have to be sick, you don't have to be overweight, you don't have to have stomach pains, you don't have to have acne, you don't have to have psoriasis and diabetes and high blood pressure and all these things, if only you knew that the way that you eat is probably the #1 contributor to those things, right? So I kept on like trying to share this information on Instagram and talking about it in my stories, but not really feeling like I was making much progress. Like, the main question that has been running through my head over these last few months has been, what am I doing with my life? You know, before having kids, of course, I wanted to be successful and make a difference in the world and have a good life. But after having kids, now it's like a requirement, a non-negotiable. There's like this weight that's put on your shoulders, or you put it on your shoulders, that tells you you cannot F up. You cannot afford to fail because you got kids that are dependent on you. And even though I do have a husband, so I'm not out here alone in these streets, thank God. I still feel, you know, I still got that mama bear instinct. I still need to make sure that I'm doing my part entirely to contribute and make sure that my kids have the life that I want them to have. And so for me, from a mother's perspective, the #1 thing that I think about all the time is, okay, there's no such thing as having all the money in the world, and money comes and it goes, right? So it can't be just about money. I want my children to be intelligent, but most importantly, I want them to know God, I want them to know love, and I want them to love themselves. I feel like if you can teach kids the value of really loving themselves, especially in this era, social media, where everybody's comparing themselves to one another, so many people are suffering from depression and stress and anxiety, myself included, struggling with some of those things. So I'm just like, I just want to at least teach my kids what it means to just be confident in what God gave you. You know what I'm saying? My daughter, she looked at me the other day and my hair was curly. I was wearing it naturally curly. And she's like, Mommy, I want to wear my hair like yours. And it just melted my heart, because one of the biggest reasons why I decided to really stick to like my natural hair journey is because I knew I was having a daughter, and I knew she was going to have kinky curly hair, and I wanted her to be secure and confident in herself. I wanted her to see Mommy wearing her natural curls and be inspired, rather than seeing Mom straighten her hair every day and burn her hair off and not take care of my hair to the best of its ability, and feel like I always have to make these major compromises to who I am naturally in order to be accepted by society. So while, yeah, I wear makeup sometimes, as you can see, and yeah, I straighten my hair sometimes, it's not the norm. And I feel that way about everything, you know, with this balance that I've discovered is so important to maintain in my life. I feel like, yeah, it's okay to eat a cheeseburger and french fries once in a while, but when that's your daily intake, it's going to wreak havoc on your body. It's okay to straighten your hair once in a while, but when it's your daily routine, it's going to wreak havoc on your hair. And it's the same thing with everything that I look around in this world. And the biggest problem that I see is that we live in a society that is off balance. God's intention is for us to seek wisdom, because His word says to study to show thyself approved, and that my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. And so God intends for us to seek truth, and then He intends for us to follow what He teaches us through that, right? The enemy, he wants us to walk around blindly. He wants us to get caught up in what feels good today, even if it's not going to be good tomorrow, because he knows that it's much harder to reverse something than it is to prevent it altogether. So I just think about these life lessons that I've been learning and how important it is for me to take it serious, what I expose my daughters to, what I expose my kids to. That's really what I've been on lately. I've been just researching a lot. I've been studying my word. I've been studying, I'm reading like the actual medical research papers, the literature, the journals, trying to understand, you know, what's going on with this food and these ingredients in our body, trying to understand what's going on in the environment and how we're destroying our earth and how we can take better care of these things. And honestly, what it has brought me to is this place of wanting more of a simple life. And that's ultimately, I think, the biggest message that I've taken from all of this. So now I'm in this space where I'm like, you know what? The energy has shifted. I still have these same dreams and goals and ambitions, and I still want to help as many people around the world as possible while I'm here. I want to help make the world a better place, right? I want to expose people to the things God has exposed me to. But this time that I have right now with my kids, I'm not going to get this back. I'm blessed to not have to go and work 2 and 3 jobs to keep a roof over our head. So why, do I face this poverty mindset? And that's the other thing I can make a whole video on. But this poverty mindset, because I grew up poor, that I feel like I have to overly work myself in order to be validated or in order to make sure that we don't ever fall back. But all these things go against God. God wants us to trust in him because he is our provider. And if God is my ultimate provider, then do I really need to go out there and break my back in order to survive? No, he's blessed me abundantly. And so I'm starting to realize, it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom, to spend time enjoying my kids while I can, and to still work, but to do things in order of priority, y'all. Somebody, told me this, and it's so true. They're like, we put things in God's hands and we take it back. When if we would just leave it in God's hands, we realize that he's got it. We can go to sleep and rest peacefully at night. God's word says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And what that means, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have to try for anything. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to be a challenge. But when things are so rock hard, stubborn that you can't get past them, and you're praying to God to open the door and close the doors to the bad things, and then you're still running into these brick walls, and there's no glory to be had for God on the other side of that challenge, you got to sit back and ask yourself, is this really what he wants me to do? And every time that I've encountered that in these recent times, I've realized that what he's redirecting me to is being present first, being a mother first, being a wife first, taking care of me. You guys, I recently have been dealing with the worst case of anxiety, like to the point where it's scary. I'm crying. I'm calling my friends in the middle of the night to pray with me. I'm calling out to God to help me because I feel sick as a result of this mindset. And he has sat me down and he has assured me. And I will tell you, over this last week, which is why I'm doing this video right now, this last week, I've made some changes, just some very subtle but very big and important changes in my outlook on things, thereby changing my actions, and it has made all the difference in my outcomes. And so I'm just really excited to have my priorities in order now, and that's basically what I wanted to let you guys know. I'm back making content again by the grace of God. He's opened this door for me. I don't know exactly what I want to do, like long-term business wise, but you know what, that's not for me to know right now. Truly, I'm putting it all in God's hands, in God's timing, and I'm so excited that I have the time today to even do this. So please join me along this journey. Let me know if you guys have any requests or questions about anything I discussed in this video, and I'm gonna wrap this tutorial up for you. So what do you think? This is the final look. This is how they all came together. Now what you are seeing is a combination of the sorts, meaning I did 2 or 3 different techniques when applying these, just based on where the hair was positioned, how much hair I was grabbing, and I think the cool thing is that they all look, very similar. I won't say they look exactly the same, but similar enough. And that just goes to show you that versatility is okay when it comes to doing your hair. Sometimes you're gonna have to impart different techniques and applications to accomplish the goal at hand. But fear not, okay? I do hope that this helped somebody out there. And if it did, please let me know in the comments below. Most importantly, share it with somebody that you know, or just take the information and regurgitate it with someone that you know that it may help, okay? Remember to be you, love you, make it all beautiful. And I will see you and you will see me on the next video.